Hello everyone. Finally, year later, updated how to bash a shirt tutorial. So, it's been a year. Way more confident in my skills currently. Bettered myself in a bunch of ways, so I decided to make an updated tutorial. The group also reached 1K, and I decided to expand. Gonna plug the server later, because I'm gonna make that place be more active, hopefully. However, for now, let's get started with the tutorial. First things first, from the very beginning, where to find reference pictures. Gem.app, probably the best place you can choose. It sources stuff like Grail, Depop, to Amazon, eBay, and a bunch of other websites, and just shows it in this one place. So it's very convenient, very easy to use. Recommend it wholeheartedly. For the search results themselves, it depends. Like, you can obviously just look up white shirt, for example, and get results from everywhere. However, if you want the cool clothing, I'll give you all the sauce. You throw in buzzwords like avant-garde and Japanese brand, right? And then you'll get the cool stuff, quote unquote. However, you can search up whatever you want. And obviously this limits the results, so you can take one out and it'll broaden the results way more. But yeah, I found a reference already. So second step is to inspect your reference. Here we have regular t-shirt. What I look for in clothing in general, but I guess let's look at this t-shirt first and foremost. Wrinkles, any annoying wrinkles that are going to be annoying to smoothen out later, or maybe even impossible to make look good. Thankfully there aren't such over here. Clear visibility of the neck hole and the stitch band also is very important. Obviously a back reference, although with t-shirts, especially plain ones like these, you don't really need a back reference. You could use the front, but in general you do. And then that's quality of the reference, and for that we just opened it in a new tab, and you can see right there, it's generally you want something at least 1,000. So whenever you work with the reference later on, there are no quality issues, so that when you compress it, move it around, it doesn't just fucking crumple into 1 pixel. So now that I checked all that, next step is solely for if this is on Grailed, right? If it says right here, available at Grailed, you click that, go to Grailed, open up the reference, and get it specifically from here. Because if you remember, the resolution was 1,000 by whatever there, and here it's 1,200 by 1,600. So if the reference is hosted on Grailed, you have to go into the actual website, open it up like this, and then get it, because you'll get it in a high resolution. Obviously get both references. Oh my god. The front and the back, and then put them into the program, whichever that is. Alright, so here we are in Photoshop for me, in whatever else for you. I am not going to be explaining tools, by the way. I'm just going to be saying what tools I'm using, how I'm using them, and what I'm using them for. So if you're coming into this tutorial completely blind, I advise at least getting to know your editing program of choice, because I'm not here to do that. But anyway, ref work. I recommend getting, before even getting this onto the main template, putting it on a 3,000 by 3,000 blank canvas and just having the space to yourself to work with. If you have a blank background, unlike me, you can probably just use one tool and select it all. Well, I could probably do that too. Yeah, but if you have a more complicated background, like some people put their stuff on grass or something, or carpet, which the one tool doesn't pick up as much, or if the colors are similar of the background and the article of clothing you're making, then you're gonna have to use lasso or whatever you're using to manually get rid of the background, like right here. So we get rid of the background. What the hell? And from here, it's easy work, really. Clean up whatever stray little pixels are left from the background. And there we go. Now you remove whatever imperfections or gripes you have with your reference image. For example, I don't like these parts, so I'm going to be using the fill tool, and actually this tool. To smoothen them out. If you don't have a fill tool, you could use something like stamp, like that, or if you have neither, you can just take a blank portion of the reference and slap it like this, and then try to blend it. Oh, make it look good. Alright, then repeat the same process for the back. Alright, so now that it's somewhat clean, next comes liquefying whatever parts you think. What I do is I like to get my stuff as straight as possible from the get-go, because any kind of waviness or chaotic pattern structure I can just make myself later. At the very beginning, when I'm just making the stuff, I like to work with straight textures and whatever parts. Okay, from the get-go we're gonna make ourselves a neck hole and some stitch lines in a second. So basically how you make a neck hole is, as I've just done, you select the neck area, hollow out the inside, and then take this, copy and paste it again, rotate, make it somewhat look like a straight curve. If you need to, you can take a soft eraser and erase some part to blend it better. And you take both of these, do it again, rotate them another time, also line it up, and now blend them. This way. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. Most of the details are going to be lost when this whole thing gets downscaled to the actual template later on. However, you do want to like clean up any glaring imperfections, like these lines not matching up, for example. Then we take them and we merge all of them. Let's make this edge softer so it blends nicer later. Oops. There you go. You've got your neck hole. Just a circle. Next up, making this stitch line, band, whatever you want to call it, hem, is going to be for both the sleeves and the bottom of the shirt, but we're only going to be sampling the bottom part, and it's very easy, really. Just take the front. If you want a bit more variety, I usually just take one of the sides, or rather the side that has the best looking one. However, if both of them are good looking and you want a bit more variety, you can take both. Then we just combine both of them, go over the top with a soft eraser yet again, and well, there are some annoyances here. There you go. So we got a hemline. You can straighten it out, but I think it's pretty cool. I'm gonna be adding it as a last step either way, so I don't really want it to be straight. So now we've got all of our things prepped that you know you're gonna need for the shirt, texture wise. So it's finally time to take the texture, or rather the shirt, onto the canvas, aka the template. Alright, so finally we've gotten to the meat of it all, working on the template. Obviously paste in or move or over, import whatever you did with the reference on the other canvas. I just have it right here to the main template. Don't worry if it's like above everything else. You're gonna wanna see where you're lining it up anyway. Don't really bother lining up the neck hole since we already have one. I'm more so lining up the texture. This, move it under. Also, yeah, you're gonna want to have your template, which is this, and your guidelines or outlines, which are these. And you mainly work without the template on, at least until the very end. Then you go grab your back reference. Also move it here. And what I like to do, a little tip from me, is you line up the back reference with the front that you just lined up so that the scaling of the textures is the same. There we go. Just move it over to the back. And look at that. Almost half of the shirt is already done. But yeah, now what you do, I mean, is take the back reference, smoothen it out however you need to. Like if you have obviously I have a blank shirt, but if you have some sort of design over here, you take it, smoothen out, get a clean reference of the back, and just use the back for everything, honestly, because the back usually has the least detailing and the cleanest shot of it, so it's very convenient to be used for every side. So another tip to make everything blend nicely, what you can do is either take this side that's overspilling over here past your guidelines specifically, or this side right here. I'll take this since it's bigger, line it up how it was, then move it all the way here, then blend it in. The texture flows in nicer from side to side. Anyway, oh, there you go. Take the back and use it for the top. Also, actually noticed that this side is a bit darker than the front. You can do that. You can even it out by using like a tool like this, dodge tool, if you have something in the lines of that, or simply just going and changing the brightness of the ref slightly in a specific area so it matches more. Anyway, back to the front, the top I mean. Do the same concept that I was just applying to the sides, but to the front. You take this little part over here that's overspilling, copy it over, then flip it upside down, move it over here into the same position. Obviously move it to the top of the layers, then just blend it in. Let me do the same process only for the sleeves. Even easier, you just have to use the bottom of this ref. On the sides. Do the same for this side. There you go. You're oh. There you go. The base structure for the t-shirt is done. Obviously, if you have a keen eye, you can see how this part is brighter, this part is darker. So let's even that out real quick. Okay. Obviously the shortcut to making all of this way easier. Let me line up. Also, what I like to do is combine all my work. Once I need to merge everything into one thing to more comfortably work with it, I first create a group with all of the parts so that whenever I need to, if I fuck up on the general combined thing, I can go back and redo or get a part that I've lost, stuff like that. So I put everything into a folder and then I group it and then I hide the folder. and I work with the grouped up part. But yeah, back to what I was saying, you can obviously just desaturate, and all this lighting talk will be much easier, since it's way easier to spot brighter spots on or darker spots on black and white stuff. However, I don't think I'm gonna do that. Then we go back. Let's take our neck hole, finally put it to use. Generally make it however big you feel like it. For looser fitted t-shirts or just tops in general, I usually make a bigger and narrower neck hole like this. For t-shirts like this that kind of don't really feel loose, I usually make it smaller like this. Obviously for tops that do feel tight, make it even smaller, something like this. Maybe even put it in the middle, but I usually like to have a little bit peeking on the front side of the torso, and I'll make it bigger, like this big. Then select the insides of this, select the ref, delete, and there you go. The neck hole is in place. Actually, let's rewind a bit. I want it lower. There you go. Next up, let's get that hemming or stitch line or whatever you want to call it. I've already kind of subconsciously lined up the existing stitch line on the ref at the bottom. Same goes here. However, it's not really notable. Sometimes when you're making clothing, you have to exaggerate some parts on roadblocks because so they're more notable, and you know, it's not reality. Like even with bashing, as close as we want to stay to reality, sometimes you do have to take leaps of imaginations to make something look better on a blocky character. And that's why I like my stitching to be way bigger than it's actually supposed to be, like this. Just put it down here. Make sure it's not, there you go. Make sure it's not touching, or it's like below the outlines, or else it just won't show. It'll like cut off weirdly. You may think it looks okay, but it generally doesn't. So do it like this. Put it on the other side. It's blended. Let's make sure that these are the same height. Yep, so this will transition nicely. Then we take the same stitching and apply it to the sleeves. It's long enough to cover both sleeves, so I don't see a reason to move it or anything along the lines of. Again, let's check if it's lined up properly. Yep. Yep. Okay. So now, just to make sure there's nothing sticking out, you just go below, you select the layer with the shirt texture, and you just go below the hemline. delete. Let's do the same here. There you go. And that's it, actually. You're basically done with making a t-shirt. However, if you want it to look a bit more nicer, then we're gonna have to start doing shading, applying wrinkles, and other kinds of tweaks like sharpening it, yada yada. And this is the part where I get to finally plug my server. I've kind of been neglecting it because, well, there's not that many people and no one's really active, so it'd be kind of weird if I started posting in drops for no one. However, I'm trying to change that currently. There's a whole new assets section where I've dropped a couple assets. Some of them are empty, however. I'm gonna fill them later. Most of my assets are commissions, so I actually can't share them. But yeah, I'll change that. I'll make some, and obviously all of this free. I don't really need any credits or payment unless you want to pay me for a commission. So just join the server. I'm gonna link it in the description or in the comments, and it's also linked in the group. If you didn't know, my group is Unlucky13. Somehow seeing this video without knowing that. So you go into here and you go to wrinkles top. Get either of these. This is like the most well-known, I suppose, free wrinkles ever. You literally find them on Pinterest, and this is something that I've actually made. So let's take this one and go and apply it. So you've got the wrinkles, you've put them in, and now let's line them up. Just take your select tool, whatever it is, and select the size, like for example right here with the sleeves. Same goes for the top. We dropped the opacity actually so you can see better. There you go. Now, depending on how light your wrinkles are, you either use layer or blending option for the layer. I have it right here, but you can also blending options. Either use the multiply if it's some lighter wrinkles like the other ones that are in the server, or if it's these that are darker, you use overlay. Then you're gonna want to compare the side with my keyboard. Hello, there we go. And compare the side that has the wrinkles applied to a side that doesn't, so that you can match the wrinkles by going into brightness, then playing with the knobs a bit. Contrast usually just makes them either pop more or less, and brightness is actually the thing that lets you blend them. So let's pop them right there. We go. Alright, and now gotta clean up the wrinkles. If you see them like this, then you can just go over with an eraser, get them out of the way of the hemline, for example. Or if you're using Photoshop or your program has an option like this that I'm about to use, then you just select pixels on the layer with the shirt, then you when you inverse this selection, choose the wrinkle layer again, and just boom, there, it's gone. Nothing's spilling over anymore. Now we do general shading. I like to do this with a 15 sized brush, but you can do it with whatever. Basically I apply this shading to all of my pieces. It's kind of simplistic, kind of cartoony, but it adds depth between the transitions of the sides of the character. And what you do, or at least what I do, is I take, the middle of this little circle, preview of the brush, line it up with the side of the outline, and just go all the way down or all the way across the sides, except the bottom. You can do the bottom, but your clothes are gonna look like those old ass 2016 Nike Galaxy shirts, right? So I usually don't do the bottom. Do for the sleeves also. Don't really bother to like stop right before it goes over. We're gonna be blurring this in a second either way, so it's bound to go over. Then we'll clean it up the same way that I have. Right, so go into blurring. I use Gaussian blur. However dispersed you want it, the radius, I usually go. It depends. It really depends on what I'm making or how what I'm making looks. Obviously, a lower number makes the shading less dispersed, and a higher number makes it more dispersed. For this, I'm feeling like a 8, I suppose. And let's drop the opacity. The opacity can really be like however much you want it, right? I don't like to go too overbearing because it just doesn't look good. So I usually go somewhere between the, again, it really depends, between 10 or it can be as high as 70, 80, something like that. For this, I'm feeling like a 15, right? And then to make your job easier, since on this background, unlike the wrinkles, it's not very obvious where it's spilling over, you can create a layer of solid color just beneath everything. Then it's going to be more obvious where these things are spilling over. However, I'm just going to do the same thing I did with the wrinkles. That is, select pixels, inverse, delete. There it goes. Next, this shirt really doesn't need it, but some pieces do, and I'm gonna do it anyway and go over it regardless. Highlights. It doesn't really matter, again, what size you use. It's up to you, brush. But in general, you just make like random dots and stuff everywhere, trying to mimic natural lighting. I'm no artist. Actually, I should probably have outlines on for this. Anyway, I'm no artist. I haven't actually like studied lighting or stuff, or like to know what looks more natural. I just kind of go off of feeling. Anyway, do the same thing you did to this with the shadows. I like these actually more dispersed, so put it to like 10, and then drop the opacity down to also around, I don't know, like 20, 24. And again, it doesn't really make much of a difference on this piece, and it's already pretty light enough on itself. But on darker pieces, it's really gonna make the sides look smoother. Like there's not gonna be a darker or a brighter side, and it's gonna make them pop more. And the last step is to just sharpen, your clothing. Have you ever wondered why some shirts or whatever look so much more crispier than yours, or some others that you have? That's because people just go ham with sharpening. Well, some people go ham with sharpening. There's not really any rules to how much you want to sharpen, but you don't want to over sharpen, or else it's just gonna look bad. So what I do, I have this smart sharpen I use, but I'm sure some other tool or option can do the same thing. and I have it in increments of 25, and then I just do it over and over again until I get something that I like. Oh, that's too much. I think this is good. This my sharpening is good. And there you go. You're done with making a shirt. This is how it's gonna look in game. I'm currently looking through dripsells.com. You can go in here, upload your clothing, like use different body types. It's pretty cool. As you can see, everything's pretty even. The lighting, the transitions. Sadly can't disable like the torso or the legs to look at the arms alone. But yeah, this is pretty much it. Join the server. I'm gonna try to make it a lot more active than it is currently. And thank you for watching and for the 1K in the group if you're from there.
I got bit by a spider. Me must have got bit by a goat. I used to dream as a kid I would grow to be one. I hope that I inspire hope for you to go get what you desire. Munch, spit fire, bitch. I was just flying coach. Y'all thought you were sick and were misdiagnosed.